Hello everyone and welcome back to Very Cold Lasagna, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am Dylan Lasagna and Happy New Year to you all as we begin year 3 of Very Cold Lasagna. And I'm sorry, my voice is so dead right now. I've been having this terrible voice for like a couple of days, so forgive me. But anyway, welcome to year 3 of Very Cold Lasagna. As we begin year 3 with another recap of my San Francisco 49ers as they started off their new year in, where else can you imagine, Sin City in Las Vegas. And yeah, just like as we begin this recap, just like the NFL, I guess you could say, scheduled it, you know. It seems like the NFL knew what they were doing with this game. It was supposed to be a matchup between Trey Lance and Derek Carr, big two teams that really hated each other back when the Raiders were in the Bay Area. Two passionate fan bases, the faithful Raider Nation. Oh, these two teams going at each other's throats. And then, of course, you get into this game going in on New Year's Day. It's Brock Purdy, who's been doing really well as the starter. And you get a guy on the other side who has played under head coach Josh McDaniels and Jarrett Stidham, their backup behind Derek Carr, who was benched for the last 2 games. It missed the trade speculation and what his future is going to look like. But then it's like you don't really have much to back off on. It's like you don't know what to expect from this guy. So that's why I said going into this game for the 49ers, from my personal perspective, it's like you really didn't know what to expect. You either could have expected a New Year's smash of a pretty bad Raiders team or a New Year's trap from this Vegas team, because Jarrett Stidham could have possibly had a Brock Purdy moment or a big dick Nick Mullins game against the Niners, because let's remember, the Niners had their big dick Nick Mullins against the Raiders and kicked them out of the Bay Area back in 2018. So maybe the Raiders were looking for some revenge there. And sure enough, when we get to the game on New Year's Day on an afternoon, Jarrett Stidham initially looked like he had his big dick Nick Mullins game early on, dicing up the 49ers defense, who seemed like they had some hangover. They were having a hangover from, I don't know if they were partying too hard on New Year's Eve, but apparently, I don't think that was the actual case, because apparently from what I saw on the tweet, they flew in late Saturday night, had a meeting, and that was that. But it didn't seem like that. Looks like they partied too hard on New Year's Eve with the ball drop. And because Jarrett Stidham was slicing and dicing them. And defense, post game, they admitted they didn't know how to really attack this guy. The defense, either way, they started up the game pretty poor. The top ranked defense that the Fox broadcast, freaking Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, frequently calling out that this top ranked defense early on, allowing sizable chunks to guys like Foster Moreau and Josh Jacobs. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you know it, 7-0 early on. Darren Waller catches a lob from Jarrett Stidham just like that, uncovered. And guess who doesn't cover him? Talanoa Hufanga. It's like, oh man, they really keep roasting him in coverage. But fortunately, guess who didn't show up hungover at Allegiant Stadium in the sea of red in front of the 49ers faithful who showed up in Vegas? The offense. Brock Purdy still looked pretty solid, continues to look pretty efficient, along with Christian McCaffrey attacking their weak run defense. That included a big run near the goal line. Brock Purdy followed it up with a timely throw to Brandon Ayuk, tied it up. But then again, the defense allowing big holes to Josh Jacobs to run over them. Like, the offense is literally Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams who actually did get wide open to set up the Raiders nicely to go up again, take a touchdown lead on them. But fortunately, they held up the goal line, got a little bit of pressure on Jarrett Stidham, held them to a field goal, 10-7. And this was in the first quarter. And I don't normally do analytics and statistics on the show, but apparently what they said on the broadcast, they were the Niners defense allowed over 100 total yards in the first quarter alone. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What are we doing here? It's like, guys, you gotta wake up. I was so disappointed in this performance early on. It's like it's the freaking Raiders, and I get it any given Sunday, but considering the fact that what happened earlier in the day and currently with another game that was happening at that time, we'll get into that in a second. The Niners really need to get this. They need to stop dicking around with the Raiders. This team sucks, but the Raiders were clearly in desperation mode because one loss eliminates them from playoff contention, whatever hopes and dreams they had of it. Even if they wanted to win this game so badly, they needed a shit ton of help from the Patriots. They needed a shit ton of help from the Dolphins, all those teams in front of them to lose out. And even then, they were going to lose in the first round in the first place. So anyway, the Niners took a 14-0 lead, 10 minutes with the first half remaining. George Kittle gets a nice toe tap catch from Brock Purdy. Purdy on that touchdown throw to Kittle looked impressive again. Good pocket awareness, saw the pressure coming, got a nice little rollout to Kittle, and it was a really good throw and a good little sequence with that touchdown to George Kittle. But still, you had that Jarrett Stidham problem. Like, this guy really is like having his big dick Nick game for that Niners top ranked defense. And I keep saying top ranked because they didn't really feel like that in that game on New Year's Day. His arms and his mobility really got to them. He really got to them because he was just slicing and dicing them, throwing it to Davante Adams for like big chunks and throwing like screens to Josh Jacobs, and Jacobs, like after the catch, would just like torch them. He would torch them. And then much later, and as we got to the 2-minute warning, he effectively ran a 2-minute drill all over the 49ers defense. As if like D'Amico Ryans, our defensive coordinator, wasn't making any adjustments to like pressure them, blitz the offensive line of the Raiders. Like the Raiders offensive line, which hasn't been that great all season, was giving plenty of time for Jarrett Stidham to throw. And it was just so baffling. The D'Amico Ryans didn't make any adjustments to try and stuff the run, clog Stidham from running, or even pressure him. There was like no pressure at all on Stidham. So right before the half, Stidham throws a lob touchdown pass to Davante Adams. Charvarius Ward covered him nicely, by the way, on the touchdown. But still, you're up. You were behind 17-14 at halftime, and it's like this defense is laying an absolute egg on New Year's to start the year, like 2023, mind you. It clearly partied too hard the day before. Like, oh, we're here in Vegas. Oh, we're gonna do some things. I mean, yeah, we did our late Saturday night meetings when we flew in, and now we're gonna go ring in the new year. Get a little drunk, party hard, and then we're playing the Raiders. Let's forget that. No, that's probably not what happened. But it's the way they played. It didn't look like it. It didn't look like they were prepared. But I will give it a little bit of silver lining. At least it gives Brock Purdy a little bit of a situation where he hasn't really faced before yet in these games against the Dolphins, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Commanders. Brock Purdy hadn't faced a situation where he wasn't in a deficit yet. He wasn't trailing for much of the game. The Raiders, for as bad as they were giving him like that situation. So I guess it was some kind of experience, especially considering the teams he could be facing in the playoffs. Like, I hate to say it, the Packers, as well as maybe the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Eagles. I'm just throwing out all the names out there. So, yeah, he definitely would have to learn at some point. Facing a deficit, how would he react to it? And, well, the third quarter happened, and the defense still looked like they didn't do anything to adjust to Jarrett Stidham, despite, initially looking like they were going to force a 3-and-out. But then Fred Warner was called for a face mask penalty, and I don't know why he grabbed Hunter Renfro's face mask, and that kept the offense on the field for the Raiders. And then Jarrett Stidham took full advantage of that, and he saw the pressure in his face coming. He was running around, and then he throws a long bomb ball to Davante Adams, who was wide open because of all that pressure, all those guys coming towards him. They left Davante Adams wide open for the Raiders' first possession of the second half. They left Davante Adams wide open. Jimmy Ward couldn't catch him. And then Raiders are up 24-14, 10 minutes into the third quarter. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I get it. They need to pressure Stidham. They need to, pressure him into mistakes, make him feel stupid, put him in his place. But you're making him feel better about himself. And they were down 10 points. So, at least for Brock Purdy in the offense, they responded nicely and quickly. They marched down the field, get this nice jet sweep run by Brandon Ayuk that eventually set up Christian McCaffrey's own touchdown run. Now they're within 3, 24-21, midway to the third. And then finally, the defense towards the end of the third get to Stidham. And the offense finally gets off the field for the Raiders, and they have to punt the ball. It took forever to do so. It took freaking 3.5 quarters for DeMeco Ryans to finally get to this dude. It really took that long. This is like a backup for Josh McDaniels. It took him that long to do it. Geez Louise. So, unfortunately, Purdy made his first big mistake in quite some time. He threw a long bomb short to Kittle and is intercepted by Amik Robinson of the Raiders. And yeah, there are some things about the Purdy's arm strength and short, how his long bombs can be short. But yeah, he kind of underthrew it a little bit, and that's why he got intercepted. But at least the defense continued to get a good amount of heat on Stidham, and they actually forced a turnover. Kerry Hyder, or at least his face mask, tipped the ball, and Drake Jackson intercepted the ball for an interception. Got the interception into his arm, so that resulted in an interception. So, unfortunately, though, the Niners could only tie the game at 24 because offensive miscues. Brock Purdy was kind of getting a little too aggressive, as well as him and George Kittle not getting on the same page, and Purdy was kind of not reading the field at times. So it's tied 24 all, and then the defense finally getting that pressure. I guess they finally settled in, and they forced another punt. The offense can only muster 3 though, so they take a lead 27-24. But then Stidham coming back again to be unstoppable. But the defense at least holds 27 all. The Raiders continue to keep fighting, full desperation mode. And then just when you think the game's gonna end, Stidham, Purdy throws a big pass to Ayuk, they call a big run for Christian McCaffrey, and then McCaffrey lets his 1B Jordan Mason run it in for a touchdown. Who's Elijah Mitchell? This is Elijah Mitchell. Jordan Mason is Christian McCaffrey's 1B. They take a 34 to 27 lead. Problem is, there's still plenty of time left. Like, they should have ran the clock here. Like, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what they were thinking. They left way too much time on the clock for the Raiders to respond. And that's exactly what they did. Davante Adams hauled in a leaping catch, which was reviewed for potentially hitting the ground and pulling in the momentum of Adams, but there's not enough evidence to overturn that. And then Fred Warner committed pass interference on Darren Waller in the end zone. Like, I don't know why he was doing that. And then, of course, the Raiders had to respond in kind with Josh Jacobs walking in easily at the goal line for a touchdown. 34-all. Again, with a minute remaining. Like, these pesky Raiders, the Niners, are letting them stay in the game because they can't do anything to Jarrett Stidham. They can't sack him. They only netted one turnover. They can't make Josh Jacobs fumble the ball. They couldn't do shit on this Raiders team that won't go away. But at least Purdy and the offense were able to answer the bell yet again. They got into Robbie Gould's field goal range, but unfortunately, he misses the game-winning kick potentially. And then they got to go to overtime. The Raiders get the ball to start first, and then the defense came in clutch. At least Nick Bosa did. He got heavy pressure on Stidham's left tackle. Bosa pushes him in to Stidham to force him to throw the ball early, a weird ball, and then the ball in the air lands into the arms of safety Tashawn Gibson, who returns it who runs it back for a big return, and then the return gets even bigger because receiver Mac Hollins for the Raiders was penalized for a chop block. And then Robbie Gould, I guess, gets his redemption by kicking a goal line field goal. And finally, the madness ends. Like, the madness that never should have happened. The Niners should easily took care of their business. But I guess a win is a win on a New Year's scare, 37-34. The Niners survived the New Year's scare. So, man, this top-ranked defense, they no-showed this game. They really did. Like, they had no tape. They had nothing to back on against Jarrett Stidham. But that doesn't mean you can't go into the game unprepared. This is like the Atlanta game, except with everyone there. Like, this is something you can't do in the playoffs. So hopefully this doesn't happen when it matters most. But hey, Nick Bosa came in the clutch. Deshaun Gibson came in the clutch. Drake Jackson especially came in the clutch with that interception to stop Stidham. But they can't have this kind of performance again. Especially now. There's a little bit of a glaring flaw for Brock Purdy, like him, like being a little over aggressive with his progression. It's like, oh, he's looking there, but then they notice it, they turn his head, and then he stop. It affects his reads, I guess. So, and he focuses a little too much on George Kittle, like just scan the open field, my guy. Look for the open receiver. Like, there's more than just George Kittle. There's more than just Brandon Ayuk. There's more than just Christian McCaffrey. Like, there's like Jawan Jennings and Raymond McLeod if they're out there, man. There is. But hey, outside of that, he continues to be real, and of course the interception. He continues to come in really clutch. Like in the 1 minute drill where him and Ayuk connected with that big catch. And then in the big catch and the juggling catch that unfortunately led to the missed field goal, that could have easily been an interception. Gave the Raiders time to like make something happen. But this dude is insane. This dude is pretty insane and gives the 49ers some consideration on maybe keeping him around as the starter next season. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about it, considering you have Trey Lance still, but holy heck, he's a really clutch quarterback. And then here's the thing that I was talking about earlier. The early result, and then the ongoing result that happened during their game, because the Niners are actually in a position to potentially clinch the top seed in next week, in week 18, because earlier on New Year's Day, the Philadelphia Eagles, with Gardner Minshew, actually lost to the New Orleans Saints, surprisingly. And then while the Niners were playing the Raiders, the Vikings lost in blowout fashion to the Green Bay Packers. So the Niners have those teams to thank, the Saints and the Packers, because the Niners jumped the Vikings for the 2 seed, and they have an opportunity to snatch away the number 1 seed from the Philadelphia Eagles in week 18 if that's a big if they obviously take care of their business against Arizona, and the Giants play their starters against the Eagles. The Eagles are probably going to rush back Jalen Hurts, because they're definitely going to need to have any sort of shot to clinch the number 1 seed, especially considering how bad Gardner Minshew played. And the only thing is, though, the Giants don't really have anything to play for. They're locked into the 6th seed, so they don't really have much of an incentive, especially for Brian Daboll, to start Daniel Jones, to start Saquon Barkley. So it's like, what do you really do? What if you're the Giants? What do you really do? Do you start him? Do you start him so you can play spoiler for Philadelphia? Like, what do you do here? I'm just saying, it's something to consider. But either way, the Niners obviously can clinch the number 2 seed with the win, but they do have a shot to clinch that top seed if they win, and the Giants, if they can somehow pull off the upset against Philadelphia. So something to consider there. So speaking of week 18, they return home for their season finale against the Arizona Cardinals. I haven't really checked out what Arizona has been doing against the Atlanta Falcons. All I know is that they lost. They're on their 4th quarterback now, David Blau. So, man, what a crappy situation that has to be for Arizona. And yeah, might be Cliff Kingsbury's last game when they play the 49ers next week on the road. So yeah, that's a game that we're gonna be covering here as the 49ers head for their regular season finale against Arizona, and hope to get that number 2 seed and maybe the number 1 seed. But we'll be talking more about that later in the week. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the 49ers New Year's scare against the Las Vegas Raiders on New Year's Day in week 17. So let me know your thoughts about this game against the Raiders. The Niners have won 9 straight, heading into their week 18 matchup against Arizona and into the postseason. So this is Dylan Lasagna of Very Cold Lasagna, and keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.